How the Electoral College works. On Election Day, citizens of every state go to designated locations to vote for the president. However, they don't actually vote for the president directly.
Depending on the population of each state, the citizens either vote for the number of Republican or Democratic officials who are chosen to vote in favor of the popular majority. In this case, the popular majority is the Republican Party, so the elected officials from this particular state would vote in favor of the Republican presidential candidate.
This Republican official, along with all the other chosen officials to represent their state, go to the White House and cast their electoral votes for the party that received the majority of the votes for that specific state.
In this example, we used Rhode Island and Delaware, who have a different amount of elected officials and voted for different parties. Since Rhode Island has more electoral votes than Delaware, their popular vote towards the Republican candidate would decide the next president. This is how it would work on a much smaller scale.
The total amount of electoral votes is 538. Whichever presidential candidate receives the majority vote wins the presidential election, therefore becoming the President of the United States.
Oh hey, didn't see there. Let's look at the roles of the American president.
The American president has many roles and responsibilities. One of the president's responsibilities is to be the chief of state. This means they have to do things like host foreign dinners, hold the Easter egg roll, throw the first pitch at baseball games, promote worthy causes and charities, and recognize worthy citizens. Participating in these events is important for the president because it shows his dedication and interest in the country. The president is expected to be chief executive also. This means he has to make sure laws are enforced, he can appoint important officials, and he issues executive orders. Another role of the president is to be commander-in-chief. He runs the military and is able to declare war on foreign countries if needed to keep the country safe. The President of the United States also has to be chief diplomat. This means he deals with foreign affairs, consults with foreign leaders, and holds ceremonies. Another role of the president is to be a legislative leader. They have to advise and guide the Congress in its lawmaking, and every year in January, the president has to give a State of the Union address. This speech tells about the country's domestic and foreign position and talks about what the president wants to accomplish in the near future. The president also has to sign every bill for it to become a law. The president is also leader of his historical party. This means he represents his own party and campaigns for candidates from his own party. The President of the United States is expected to maintain national secrets. He is only allowed to tell the public what they need to know and nothing more. The government cannot expose everything they know to the people. In Federal 70, it says that the president has to be a single elected executive. This means the president has to be elected by the people, he has to have experience, and he cannot just randomly put himself in for the position of president.
Oh hey, sneaking up on me again? Now that you know the roles of a singular executive, let's look at the alternatives to one.
The benefits of having a plural executive system include that in the public eye, the decisions would look better thought out. This would improve domestic tranquility. They would be able to spread their views more effectively throughout the country. More ideas could be obtained while making decisions. Additionally, the pressures usually put on one president could be distributed amongst several of them. The detriments of having a plural executive system include that they may attempt to make themselves more powerful by passing laws or bills. Additionally, it would be difficult for them to make quick decisions in times of need. An example of a plural executive system are the ones in Uruguay in the 1920s and 30s. It failed due to the fact that it was difficult for them to make decisions. Gale stated, President Terra found sharing the power with the council totally inadequate for him to deal effectively with the economic and social emergency brought to him by the collapsing world economy. At this point in the 1930s, they were suffering from a terrible economy and had to deal with it immediately. But the many people in the council did not allow for them to do that. Another example of a plural executive system was a French directory at the end of the 17th century. It lasted from the August of 1795 to November of 1799. You may ask, why does it only last 4 years? The people in the country were not pleased with the presidents because they became quote-unquote power crazed. It consisted of 5 directors and was replaced by a singular executive system after. They could not find a balance between the executive and legislative power. They passed laws to ensure that they would retain positions in office. This is called the two-thirds law. In the eyes of the public, they looked terrible, and this caused them to not be pleased. The directors were very weak. This was so because they were not backed by the people.